Hi there guys, I'm Matty here from Matt Design and I'm going to show you how to set up a spam honeypot for all the spam bots through Activecampaign. So it's quite simple and there's just a few steps to follow. So all you need to do to start with is you need to set up your form field and your list. So what we're going to do is inside the form, we've got one here called booking inquiry form. We have on here, as you can see, spam hidden. This is a hidden field. So all you need to do to set one of those up is come into your form, press add custom field, select hidden, give it a name, and then once you've added that, you can then drag it in from the side here. So just to show you, drag it in, pop it on the field, and that's it. What will happen then is that will give you an ID. So when you press integrate, you'll have this big long form code. If we scroll down, we can see here we've got input type hidden name field 5. So that's what we're going to need in a minute, but we'll leave that for a second because we need to do a few other steps first. So once we've set up our form field, we then need to go and set up a list. So if I go into lists, you can see I've already set one up called spam list. After you've done that, then we need to create an automation. So the automation is the important part here, and that's what sort of sorts the spam out from the rest of the traffic. And just to give you an idea of how that happens is what a spam bot does when it submits the form is it fills in every field on the form, whereas a standard user will only fill in the fields that it can see. So then Activecampaign identifies that hidden field that a normal user would not fill in, but a bot would, and then puts it into its own little list. So we've got a spam list here. So then I've created an automation called spam sorting. So quite simple. The start of the automation needs to be contacts field spam hidden changes. So what this says is that whenever it's called span here, bit of a typo. But when this field changes, so if I submit this form and I have anything in spam hidden, that means that this automation will then run. So I've said runs every time, added or updated. And what that does is when the automation triggers, it then subscribes them to a spam list. I've also put a few extra options in here, just in subscribing them from any of the other lists. Couple of reasons. It's just kind of an extra layer of security, and also then if the bot has ran the form before or ran another form on the site, then once this new one is triggered, it will then unsubscribe that email address from the other list too. Cool. So now we've got that set up, we then need to put this into our automation. So I've already got an automation here for booking inquiry. So we don't have to set a whole new automation up for this. We can actually make it work into our previous automations. So this automation we've got here triggers when someone submits the booking inquiry form, as you've seen earlier. So instead of it notifying someone straight away, what we want to do is we need to, at this point here, determine whether it's a spam or it's a general user. So in here we'll add a new action, and what we're going to do is if we're going to add a wait timer, because what we want to happen is we want the other automation to trigger first. We don't want it to trigger at the same time, and we need to make sure that that allows a little bit of delay so that the spam handler can do its job. So what we're going to do is we're going to say wait for 5 minutes, which is the minimum amount of time that you can do on Activecampaign. Press save, and then we're going to add if else here. So what we're going to say is, if we search list, put in list, so if the contact or the user that's coming through this automation is in the list spam, press OK. It will then segment out your next steps. So you can see here that our next steps are actually in the wrong column because we want this to trigger if they're not in the spam list. So all you need to do to move that is click and drag that and move that over, and it will say move this action and all following. So we just want to tick that one, and that will just move that over that way. So if they do fill it out and it is the spam, then we can say yes, and we can just say end this automation. So that actually will then determine the spam, say yes it's a spam or no it's not, and then do what we need it to do, notify, add to list, send email, that sort of stuff. Okay, so one more setting we need to check on the form before we can implement this, and we're good to go. So switching back to our form, you can see here that previously we've got set up form action subscribe to list. So we need to make sure we remove that, because we obviously, it's kind of contradicting our automations, so we need to just untick that from there. And then also we need to make sure that in our automations we need to then add it in here. So if they submit the booking inquiry form, I'm going to make sure that it's added in here, that the contact then gets subscribed to the list, and that way it follows the rules as opposed to it going through a separate rule itself in the form. Okay, so now that's all set up, we can go in here and go back down to our just above the submit button. Probably a tip is to make sure your form, the field that you want to put is just above your submit button. It makes it a bit easier to find when you want to copy it out. So if we highlight this and copy that, all you need to do is go to wherever you've got your HTML code for your form. We're using Concrete 5, so this is just the HTML editor, and then we've got a space for it here just before the submit button. We're just going to paste that in there. You would say type hidden, it will say the name of your field, which will be a value, a number, sorry, and then you've got your value, which is empty currently. So what effectively will happen is when the bot runs the form, it will fill in the value here, and then the automation should do its job. That's it for now. If you've got any questions, just give us a shout.